Welcome back to another struggle day. How have you all been? I apologize for we didn't do last week's episode. Like I said, I am a busy man. We got a lot of stuff going on. But thank you all for tuning in. We are recording live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram via the phone. If you guys want to listen to this while you're on your way driving to or from work, we got the podcast version so that way you guys don't have to see my adorable mug. Or, you guys can listen to us on Spotify and all this other stuff. So, yeah, excuse me, because I have been burning the midnight oil I've been burning the midnight candles, oil, whatever you got to burn, I'm burning it on both ends. Trust me, I am tapped out, but I couldn't do that to you guys. I'd already missed last Friday. I miss movie Mondays. I'm behind schedule. So bear with me. Your man is only human. I fall short sometimes, and I got a limited energy reserves. And speaking of energy reserves, I am refilling up one right now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sweet, delicious calf black rifle coffee with a hit of sweet cream. Trust me, I need normally I drink my coffee black, but I needed something. I needed something to kind of spruce my day. So, whoo! So what are we getting into today? So, of course, as you guys know, this is Friday. This is Struggle Day. This is the day where we get our Bible series together. So, if you guys can tune in with me, we are discussing a chapter 25 of Exodus. And like I said, it doesn't matter what kind of version that you're using. I'm using the Messianic Jewish Family Bible, the Tree of Life version, aka the TLV. You can use the NIV, you can use King James version, you can use whatever you want as long as you're able to read it. That's my only thing. That's my only rule to this Bible study. You just got to be able to read it. Some people will say, "Oh, you can only use the King James version. Oh, you can only use this." You know what? We ain't that kind of show. Use what you use what you can read, because the the exploration and the self-realization and the relationship starts when you start. So no matter how you start, whether you're using the King James version, now the only thing I will say, please don't use the Mormon version, don't use the Jehovah's Witness version, because they no shade to them. No shade to them. From everything that I've learned about Mormon communities and Jehovah's Witness communities, they live a pretty nice, secluded, positive, community. But as far as the Bible goes, and as far as what they teach in their churches and congregations and stuff, it doesn't really align with what was written. So, but like I said, use whatever version you want to use, you know, as long as you can read it, as long and we're on this journey together. Trust me, I'm not a pastor, preacher, priest, whatever you want to insert title here. I'm not a rabbi. Please don't use the word rabbi, because Jesus said don't call him a rabbi. I'm not a great one. Trust me, I'm average at best. So um this is just that I am on this journey. I am inviting you guys on this journey with me. Trust me, I have stumbled a few times since beginning this journey. There's some things that don't make sense to me. There's some things that I ask questions. As you guys can probably, please go back and check out our older episodes. My thoughts have changed on a couple things, now being, well, I think we're what, 2 years in, just about. We're about a year and a half into the struggle. And sometimes when I go back and I listen to my old audio from like Genesis, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I really thought that. Ooh, that's cringe. But I'm learning. So, go visit my friend, my mentor, my brother Alfonso Rachel over at the Zopium Den on his platform called Bronze Serpent Media. Please go check him out. Because I learned a lot from him. I've had him on the show, believe 3 times, 2 or 3 times. We're going to have him on the show again later on. He helps me out. He helps me make sense of things. He helps me When I go through my verbal processing moments, sometimes he tells me, hey, you're hitting the mark dead on. Sometimes you're like, you kind of missed the mark a bit. But hey, that's what having good people like that in your circle. And of course, I'm using Dennis Prager's book, especially. I am going to be relying heavily as we go through the rest of Exodus, and I can't wait for his Leviticus book to come out because that's the studio cat. She wants attention and her food bowl's empty. But I'm going to be relying heavily because so far Dennis Prager's books, especially as we get into the Tabernacle, um, he goes into so much depth in his books. And speaking of Dennis Prager, and trust me, I'm not paid by PragerU. I'm not paid by Dennis Prager. I just really like his work. I really like his writing. I just bought his new Passover, the Rational Passover and Haggadah. Yeah, Haggadah. Yeah, I have not started reading this yet. I'm going to start reading it. Trust me, I got a lot of stuff on my plate. There's a lot of I still haven't even finished the book by Dr. Vadi Bakum. I still haven't finished that book. Trust me. When I read books, I read like several books at a time. I can't just. I'm a little dyslexic and a little OCD sometimes. But I'm rambling on. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. But yeah, but as I'm talking about this, I want you guys, as we read the rest of Exodus and as we go into Leviticus, when we're talking about the tabernacle, when we're talking about the holidays and stuff like that, I want you guys to really like take this stuff in deeply because and I will be because trust me and the missus, we've had disagreements, we've had fights, we have had arguments, we've had debates. Um, my role as the head of the household, as the husband, as the soon to be father, whenever, God deems to bless us with a little one, is I want to get my family onto biblical holidays. I want to get my family on biblical observances. And no, I will not be becoming Jewish. I'm not wearing a yarmulke or whatever, Jews do, because trust me, as we read the Bible, you don't have it's not about being Jewish. It's about observing the laws. It's observing what God has deemed so and he did not deem Christmas. I hate to say to my fellow Christians, he did not make Christmas. He did not make Easter, which is coming up. He did not make all these other things. He made three feasts that he says to be observed for all time. And one of them is Passover. Even in the Bible, even in the New Testament, Jesus even observed Hanukkah. So trust me, I'm having that battle in my house right now because some old habits die hard, especially when we have close ties and emotions connected to them. So let's keep going. So, Parashat Terumah, which means donations. Chapter 25, the tabernacle, the ark, table, and menorah. So, 25, Adonai spoke to Moses. Let me go ahead and lower this down. I got to make some adjustments because you guys know I'm a little bit deep. Got to take that off. There we go. Look at it. All right. So Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, tell Bane Israel to take up an offering for me from anyone whose heart compels him. You are to take my offering. These are the contributions which you are to receive from them: gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet cloth, fine linen and goat hair, ram skins dyed red, seal skins, acacia wood, oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, onyx stones, and setting stones for the ephod and for the breastplate. Have them make a sanctuary for me so that I may dwell among them. You are to make it all precisely according to everything that I show you, the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all the furnishings within. Just so you must make it. All right, and I'm just going to warn you guys. Dennis has a lot of long essays in this, so I'm going to try to speed through the reading, even though it sounds like I'm reading slow. But trust me, I am slow today. All right, now they are to make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits in length and 1.5 cubits in width, and a cubit and a half in height. I understand. Oh, yeah, a cubit and a half high. You are to overlay it with pure gold inside and out, and make a crown of gold around it. You are to cast 4 rings of gold for it and place them on its 4 feet. 2 rings will be on one side and 2 rings on the other side. Also, make poles of acacia wood and overlay it with gold. You are to put the poles into the ring on the sides of the ark in order to carry the ark. The poles are to remain in the rings of the ark and not be taken from it. You are to put the testimony which I will give you into the ark. And that's an interesting thing because we've already known that God has already made the the um the 10 commandments, and he carved it out of stone. So now we're talking, now we're learning of, you are to put the testimony which I will give you into the ark. I just found that interesting. So then you are to make an atonement cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long, 1 cubit and a half wide. Also make 2 cherubim or cherubs, or I think how's it pronounced in Hebrew? Cherubim. 2 cherubim of gold from hammered work, and the two ends of the atonement cover. Make 1 cherub or cherub at one end and 1 cherub at the other end of one piece with the atonement cover. You are to make the cherubim at its 2 ends. The cherubim are to spread out their wings above, shielding the atonement cover with their wings, each facing its companion. The faces of the cherub are to be turned toward the atonement cover, meaning, I guess, which is kind of vague because you said that they're supposed to be facing each other, but their face supposed to be towards. So either they can be looking at each other or they can be looking down. You are to put the atonement cover on top of the ark, and inside the ark, you will put the testimony that I will give you. Again, we're being told that God is going to give us a testimony to put in there. Maybe that is the work of Moses, because God is directly communicating and speaking to Moses. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not entirely sure. I will meet with you there. I will speak with you from above the atonement cover, from between the 2 cherub, and I mean that are on the ark of the testimony. I don't understand why I can't read. That are on the ark of the testimony. About all that I will command you for Bane Israel. You will make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and a cubit and a half high. You are to overlay it with pure gold and make a crown of gold around it. Make a border, make a border a single hand width wide around it, and a golden crown for the border all around. Also, make 4 gold rings for it, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on its 4 feet. The rings are to be close to the border and as holders for the poles to carry the table. You are to make the poles of acacia wood and overlay it with gold, so that the table may be carried with them. You are also to make the dishes, pans, jars, bowls, pour drink offerings from pure gold. Also, set the bread of the presence on the table before me. And I think that's the showbread, and I got footnotes at the end. You are to make a menorah of pure gold by hammered work. Its base, stem, cups, bulbs, and flowers are to be one piece. There are to be six branches coming out from out of its sides. And I'm going to stop right there because I've seen I've seen menorahs that are like what is it, nine, like nine branches or eight. I don't know. It's supposed to be eight branches. Oh, yeah, a total of nine, but eight branches coming out. That's not really a real menorah. That's, or at least for the tabernacle. The menorah that's inside the tabernacle is three branches, which is six branches, all coming from the sides, as the Bible clearly states. The menorah out of one side and three branches out of the other. There are to be three cups shaped like almond blossoms in one branch, each with a bulb and flowers. Then three cups made like almond blossoms on the next branch, each with the bulb and flower, and so forth for the six branches coming out of the menorah. Within the menorah, you will pour four cups made like almond blossoms with bulbs and flowers. There is to be a bulb under two branches, and for the first piece, a bulb under the two branches of the second piece, and a bulb under the two branches of the third piece. For for the six branches coming out of the menorah, their bulbs and their branches are to be one piece, all of a single hammered work of pure gold. You are also to make seven lamps for them, and set the lamps up and shed light over the space before it. Sorry. The tongs and the censers are to be of pure gold. It is to be made from a talent of pure gold with all these pieces. See that you make them according to their pattern being shown to you on the mountain. So remember, God is showing Moses all of this. So, and that is it. We have two footnotes here. Exodus 25:15. The Hebrew is kaparet, or the mercy seat, which is they're talking about the tabernacle. I mean, the Ark of the Covenant, the place where God is supposed to sit. And it says, above it, the cherubim's glory overshadows the mercy seat. And it is not now possible to speak in detail about these things. Then we have Exodus 25:30. The Hebrew is lekem panem le pane. Yeah, Ted told you I cannot read. The bread faces my face, the showbread. All right. So we got Dennis Prager's book. So the first part, he says, the Lord spoke to Moses. He says, the remainder of the book of Exodus is largely about building the tabernacle. Excuse me, let me scooch my book up. Oh no, I got this little book holder because I got tired of breaking my neck every time I try to read it. The tabernacle and the portable sanctuary used by the Israelites in the desert. More chapters are devoted to the tabernacle and the details of its constructions and functions than any other subject in the five books of the Torah: Exodus 25:31 and 35:40. Nearly all the materials in these chapters are repeated in the final chapter of Exodus. These chapters describe God's instructions to Moses about how to construct the tabernacle. The later chapters describe the tabernacle's actual construction. According to Everett Fox, the great amount of attention devoted to building the tabernacle throughout the second half of Exodus, it is an indication of the tabernacle's centrality to Israelite worship. It was the center of grain it was the center of grain and animal sacrifice, which was the chief means of religious expression and antiquities. The Israelites are to engage in making the tabernacle in the same way God engaged in making the world. In imitation of God, the Israelites are to stop their work on the seventh day. This likely is the reason the law of the Sabbath are reiterated immediately following detailed blueprints of the tabernacle. Exodus 31:12 through 17. So, um, see. Yeah, so he has a essay here in religious rituals, unlike ethical behavior, intention matters. And this is referencing Exodus 25, verse 2. Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts for me upon every person whose heart so moves him. So remember, and that's one thing that I found interesting because God is saying for whose heart moves him. Doesn't it wasn't making it mandatory, wasn't making it a law that people had to give up. He was making it optional, even though a lot of people did, as we're going to later see in other in later chapters, that Moses had to say, "Stop, we got enough." So, ordinarily, the Torah gives commandments we must fulfill regardless of whether our hearts is in fulfilling them or not. Moral actions must be taken whether or not our heart prompts us to. Accordingly, the Torah commands that every third year we give 10% of our earnings to the poor. Deuteronomy 26, verse 12. And additional percentage each year. Leviticus 19, 9 through 10. Uh irrepar- yeah, irrespective of whether our hearts prompt us to do so. But with regards to giving to God, our hearts can determine how much we give. Charity is given to people. Therefore, it is a moral, ethical act. And regarding the ethical, sorry, I chuckled a little bit because I just filed my taxes and my tax lady who prepares my taxes, because of how much I make. The she's every year we go through this. She's like, "Well, did you donate?" And the missus and I, we do donate. We donate clothes and other things and other things that we want to donate to people. Sometimes we also do charity work and stuff like that whenever we can block out the time. But as of late, her and I, we've just been swamped, so we haven't been doing as much as we normally would. But speaking to my tax lady, she was like, "Look, because I ended up owing." She's like, "Look, if you don't want to owe, I understand that you guys donate clothes or household items that you guys no longer use and stuff like that to charity, but you probably got to start donating money because each year, I'm telling you, just because of how much you make, you're gonna get beaten over the head in taxes. You're gonna owe every single year if you don't start donating." So, she's even talked about how we can go to church, even though because we don't go to church right now. We don't have a church home. A lot of it is because just time, and even though to some Bible thumpers, they're going to say that's not an excuse. Screw you, because God is everywhere. I don't. To me personally, I'm still of the mind I don't have to go to church. I am very turned off by churchianity. I don't like churchianity. I don't want to go and be fed some BS. Neo progressive Christianity to where men are no longer the head of the household. God is now, even though God has always said, even in this verses, he's optional, but the laws are sometimes observed, not observed. They do a lot of pagan worship in church, but she said maybe you guys should go to church to start, tithing and all that other stuff, and so that way you get a receipt, so that way we can annotate it. So that's why I chuckled right here. So, like I said, I'm not a perfect human being, but yeah. So, regarding so charity is given to people, therefore it is a moral, ethical act. And regarding the ethical, God does not demand the heart. God's good actions, actions that help other human beings, are worthwhile in and of themselves, because re- uh, recipients of charity are helped regardless of our intentions. And you know what? And I'm going to stop right here, because that, you know, if you guys watched my last episode when we talked about not the struggle episode, but Wednesday's episode when we were talking about Kim Kardashian and stuff like that, a lot of times, and not talking about her, but people will, even though that topic did come up, people have a bad habit of trying to understand the intentions of the wealthy, because they'll try to say, "Oh, well, the Donald Trump or the elite or the rich of the rich, they only do charity events because it's a tax write off. Yeah. If I was of that level, yes, I would do that. I got my tax person telling me to do that. So to me, whether they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, whether it's because they felt moved to do so, whether they even really believe in it, the fact that they're doing it and people are benefiting from it, i.e., food, clothes, whatever. Whether they can look down on the poor and just like, you filthy peasant. But here's $10,000, you filthy peasant. It really doesn't matter. It really does not matter, because the fact that they're doing something for people who are less fortunate than them, regardless of their intention, regardless of their internal feelings, regardless if they're doing it as a financial strategy, it still helps those people. So, can we like stop like trying to get in the minds of the wealthy and try to negate their charity because of may feel what we may feel their intentions are? Because even still, the rich donate and give more in charity than the middle and poor class. Poor people are always, middle and poor class people are always the main ones talking about how the rich want to do X, Y, and Z because it's a tax write off, but yet they don't give. So, just saying, just saying. And I'll even throw myself in that. I don't give nowhere as much as I should or as I could, but I'm, like I said, I am working on me. I am, a couple years ago, I didn't donate anything. But now we do, the missus and I, we do community service. We also give donations. And now we're being advised that we got to start doing, financial donations so we can write off on our taxes. And I rather give my money to someone who needs it versus giving my money to the government who's going to squander it. That's just me. So, or to put it in another way, good actions are good even if animated by selfishness. Bad actions are bad even if animated by good intentions, i.e., and that is a perfect example, because we have, these politicians right now, or for the last ever, always trying to take from the rich and try and saying they're going to give to the poor, but yet they're really hurting the poor. But that's besides the point. We're going to keep reading. If a person builds a hospital because he wants to become famous by having the hospital named after him, that hospital saves just as many lives as the hospital built by people animated solely by altruistic motives. Furthermore, people whose lives are saved by hospitals built by a person who wanted to be famous are just as grateful as those who live who as those whose lives are saved by a hospital built by by selfish people. In ethics, what matters more is results, not intentions. And we got this irritating bug nowadays that intentions matter. I don't care. I don't give a damn about someone's intentions as long as their actions. Now, as long as they don't have malicious intentions. I don't care if they got selfish intentions, i.e., Donald Trump. Donald Trump likes to put his name on everything. He's like, I'm the greatest. I've done the most. I'm the richest person in the world. But you look at Donald Trump employs way more people. His companies, he employs way more people than Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, any other politician. Donald Trump has done more for the American people than our politicians who hate him. So, but this is not to wave the flag for Donald Trump. But I'm just giving you guys an analogy. I don't care that he's rich. I don't care that he's selfish, bombastic, and all this other stuff. His actions have done more for people to benefit people than our politicians, our career politicians. So all right. Furthermore, people's all right, I already read that. At the same time, good intentions leading to bad results are worthless. Such is the case, for example, when wealthy nations are, for altruistic reasons, give large sums of money to poor countries whose corrupt governments are then strengthened. Such aid does more harm than good. This is also true within wealthier nations. Society must, of course, take care of those who are in real need. and I'm going to put emphasis on a real need. We got a lot of people who are poor in America just by off of our living standards, just off of our economical standards, who aren't in real need. They're just lazy, i.e., go back to Kim Kardashian. We have a lot of people who collect welfare and welfare checks, public assistance, and all these other things, who can work, who have the ability to work. They're not in any real need. They are physically able and mentally able to work. And I always said, and this is going to come off very harsh, I have a cousin who has the mental capacity of a child, and she has a job. I've seen people in my previous job, there was a guy, sweetest man in the world, had Down syndrome, sweetest as he can be, working in the mailroom. He would put in some serious hours. If he can work, or if someone who is amputated or suffers from dwarfism or some sort of physical ailment, if they can work, what is your excuse? You don't have one. You're lazy. You want the government to give you something because you rather it's easier to receive than to go out and work for it. It's easier to go to the grocery store. I mean, excuse this analogy. It's easier to go to the grocery store than it is to raise your own livestock or and crop and then slaughter it. It is a lot easier. But we have people taking that mentality to the extreme. But the one thing about people who are able to do for themselves, and that's the reason why I bring up this analogy. The reason why people who go out and hunt for their own meals, their own meat, or they have a home garden, they, regardless of how rich they are, how poor they are, you could live in a trailer, but if you got a deep freezer full of deer meat, you're never gonna go hungry. You're never gonna go hungry. You're not dependent on the government to sustain you. So we got people living on Section 8, welfare, SNAP, WIC, all this other stuff, having kid after kid after kid, making poor decision after poor decision that are collecting checks. I'm telling you, and this may sound very mean, it may sound very shallow. I don't care. This may, to some Christian ears, this may sound unbiblical or unchristian. Those people really get under my skin because we have people who really are in need. We have people who serve our country who have gotten blown up, suffer mental problems, people who get hurt in terrible accidents. We I would rather see our public assistance go to a parent who got into a car accident and is now physically disabled for the rest of their life, who is crippled or has suffered. I had a friend in high school whose dad went, and this is such a sad story. He bought a car for his oldest son and then got into an accident trying to take the car to his son, and then suffered from amnesia because of the accident. I would rather see our public dollars go to someone like that than go to someone who's out here having child after child, living in government housing, who is able to work but chooses not to work, all because either the because of their economic skill potential or lack of, doesn't offer them the same lifestyle that they want. If you go to any low income community, you will see Xboxes, you will see flat screen TVs, you will see Jordans, you will see name brand clothes. I would rather see our money go to the people who are really suffering, the people who are really struggling, not the people who are just lazy and who have a very good talent of making bad decisions. But I digress. So this is also true within wealthy nations. Society must, of course, take care of those who are in real need. But a certain percentage of people who are capable of working and providing for themselves will choose not to work and instead seek to be financially supported by the government. This in turns lead to three awful consequences. It erodes the character of those relying on such aid. Yeah, it reduces the amount of resources available to care for the truly needy. Yes. Let me see. I think I got a comment that popped up. Never mind. Um, It literally makes addicts out of many of these people. They become addicted to receiving unearned income. It can be as difficult to wean people off unearned benefits as it is to wean people off drugs. And we've seen this with COVID. And again, people got so mad at Kim Kardashian for saying what she said. People got mad at me for saying what I said. People really hated my video on Wednesday. I had people come to me talking about, you're so out of touch. Who the hell do you think you are? Well, I mean, I'm speaking the truth. Excuse me. Because we see people on COVID. We had people like out here planning and scheming, living from stimulus check and child tax credits. And now, like, these people have been out of work, their skills have gotten rusty. These people can't get a job. So now, because of, and I gotta say it, because of the Trump administration, because of COVID, and now the Biden administration, we have a lot of people who are now displaced, who don't want to go back to work. We're going to have a lot of people once the economy is back in full throttle. We're going to have it's going to be hell for the first couple months, maybe even years, because you've had people out of work for 2 years, dependent on state benefits, federal benefits. They were people were living high on the hog, which I don't even understand, like, how you can. Maybe I'm just greedy, but I could not live off of that. I couldn't. I could not live off of that. So each of these destructive consequences is the product of good intentions. The history of the modern world is filled with people who have done terrible things from sincere and good motives. The large number of individuals in democracies who support communist tyrannies is one obvious example. In other words, regarding morality, intentions matter little and often not at all. But when it comes to relating to God, prayer, ritual acts, etc., intentions matter a great deal. Israelites' gift will be used to build a place of worship to God. This is a ritual act. And when it comes to ritual, our hearts need to be involved if the act is to have significance. Unlike moral actions, which are ends in themselves. A ritual is not an end in of itself, but a means of bringing an individual closer to God and greater holiness. Because of all the donations given to the Israelites, it- by the Israelites, the building of the built to the building the tabernacle were voluntary. We come across no grumbling. Sorry, my mustache is technically my nose. Even though until now the Israelites have repeatedly expressed anger, complaints against both God and Moses, that indicates the wisdom of soliciting voluntary contributions in the ritual realm. Many hundreds of years later, when the Israelites were firmly accosted in their homeland, and oh, I'm sorry, I said that word completely wrong. Forgive me. Ensconced in their homeland, King Solomon set out to build the sequel to the tabernacle, the Bet Hod Mikdash, the great temple in Jerusalem. Solomon, however, chose not to rely on voluntary contributions and imposed forced labor. 10,000 men were sent each month to work in timber-rich Lebanon, while 70,000 porters and 80,000 stonecutters were assigned to labor in Israel. Some 3,300 officials were appointed to oversee the temple's erection. 1 Kings 5:27 through 30. So, like I said, he's got this is another essay that I want to hit. Essay: Beauty can bring people closer to God. And this refers to verse 25. Verse 3. And these are the gifts you shall accept from them: gold, silver, and copper. The Torah now details the gifts the Israelites may bring, but not until verse 8 do we learn what they are for. The list that follows includes all the Israelites' most valuable possessions. Although most of these recently liberated slaves owned only a few precious items, they were willing to part with them. Presumably, they were willing to do so because they wanted to feel connected to God. Many moderns strongly criticize religions for building ornate temples, churches, and cathedrals. All that wealth would be much better suited to help the poor, they argue. The most often cited examples are Catholic cathedrals built in the midst of poverty. I don't find the validity, and I'm gonna stop right there. One thing that, because I've heard that argument too. When you see mega churches, and I've said it too, because I'm also faulty of this. When we see these mega church pastors who who hide money in walls and stuff, but the benefit of having a beautiful uh piece of architecture like a church, a cathedral in poor communities is because it draws people. It should draw people together. The and Think about it. If you have a community church, let's say, in my area, First Baptist of Glenarden. I don't go to church there. I used to, but they have a very beautiful church, and they did not always have that. And they didn't put it in the poorest neighborhood, but it's not the wealthiest either. But the people who make up that congregation are people who live in that community. So the fact that you have people who live in that community can come together, donate their money on top of whatever else the church did, and to build this beautiful structure that can have multi purposes, that can have, I'm not saying it does, but can have, is something that is awe inspiring. But I'm going to keep reading. I don't find this valid criticism. For one thing, the construction and furnishing of those cathedrals employ many thousands of people, which is true, over the course of decades, even centuries. It took about 250 years to build the York Cathedral in England, for example. But most important, if all the gold in every cathedral in the poorest Catholic countries were melted and everything of value in those cathedrals was sold off, with the money then dispersed among its neediest citizens, it would have minimal immediate and no enduring impact on poverty. Yeah, which is true. Small percentages of many millions of poor people would benefit, and only for a very limited period. Then they will be left with no more cathedrals in their midst. For most of these people, their greatest source of communal pride and a place that brought them closer to God and uplifted their spirits, these cathedrals have given untold numbers of poor and wealthy people peace, meaning, solace, things for which secular Westerners have little appreciation or empathy. Like the Israelites in the desert, most of these poor people have preferred to establish an enduring connection to God through their gifts than have a little bit of extra gold for a few days or weeks. The late British rabbi Hugo Grin recounted a story from when he was a teenage prisoner in the Nazi concentration camps in Auschwitz. One midwinter evening, one of the inmates reminded us that tonight was the first night of Hanukkah, the festival of lights. My father constructed a little Hanukkah menorah out of scrap metal. For a wick, he took some threads from his prison uniform. For oil, he used some butter that he somehow procured from the guard. Although such observances were strictly verboten or forbidden, we were used to taking risk. But I protested at the waste of precious calories. Would it not be better to share butter on a crust of bread than to burn it? Hugo said, my father said my father, both you and I that know that a people who can live a very long time without food. But Hugo, I tell you, a person cannot live a single day without hope. Without God, there is no hope. Only God gives us hope. There is something beyond this life, a destination where ultimate justice is achieved, where we reconnect with loved ones, and where life doesn't abruptly end for all eternity. A beautiful religious ritual or a beautiful religious edifice can bring us closer to God and hope. In a lifetime unlike some previous generations, most Jews have, for whatever reason, chosen not to build particularly beautiful synagogues. And for the most part, Christians are no longer building beautiful churches and less cathedrals. But Jews who find inspiration and meaning in religious rituals often spend a good deal of money on religious objects such as Hanukkah menorahs, a citron for Sukkot, the holiday of tabernacles. When Jews say a blessing while holding a palm frond, a palm frond and a citron box, and a Havdalah set for the ceremony, separating the Sabbaths, the other holy days, the other holidays from the rest of the week. Beautiful rituals, beautiful places of worship, beautiful art, music elevates us to bring us closer to God and worth more than material benefits. All right. Let me see. Yeah, I'm doing more reading of all right. So just fast forward a bit. Verse 16. And deposit in the ark the tablet, the pact which I will give you. And Genesis essay, the Ten Commandments, the most important words in the Torah. Only the Ten Commandments are placed in the ark. No other words from the Torah. This is another indication from within the Torah itself. The first, of course, being the Ten Commandments, were revealed by God Himself and revealed to the entire assembly at Sinai, and that the Ten Commandments are a uniquely important part of the Torah. Within the Jewish tradition, there has long been a belief that because the Torah is divine, all its words are equally important. But one should not in but one should not infer that if all the words are divine, they are therefore of equal of importance. They are, dang it, mustache. Uh, they are all important, but they not equally important. A special status of the Ten Commandments was demonstrated again hundreds of years later when Solomon built the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. There was nothing inside the ark but two tablets of stone which Moses placed there when the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites after their departure from the land in Egypt. 1 Kings 8 verse 9. There was a powerful message in placing the Ten Commandments, the core document of ethical monotheism in the ark, which is the holiest part of the tabernacle. It is a physical representation of a major Torah teaching. The holy protects the ethical. Ever since the French Enlightenment, Western men have has believed ethics can survive without the holy, meaning without God. But the death of God, along with the death of holy, inevitably leads to a moral collapse. It is an open question whether Western societies will survive the death of God, as famously declared in 1882 by Friedrich Nietzsche. And if those societies die, there is no reason to believe they will be replaced by something morally superior, and a great deal of people will believe they will not. So, yeah, so I'm not really going to get into the rest of that because we are running out of time. Let me see. I think I saw something very interesting. Uh, I might make a part two to this, but if you guys want a part two, um, please let me know. I can definitely dive more and more into this. But the one thing that really stood out to me in this episode, in this chapter, was the talking about of the fact that God didn't demand that people donate to the building of the tabernacle. He said if it was in your heart. Now, of course, God, as we know in the earlier chapters of Exodus, God can influence your heart, but it did not say that these people had to. Sorry, my mouth is getting dry. But but when we're talking about here in this chapter, the biggest things that I took away, of course, when we're talking about building the tabernacle and God's word and all sorts of stuff. The fact that people wanted to be closer to God. These people, keep in mind, these people just came out of Egypt, and they didn't have much, and they are now giving everything that they have, or willing to, or some people, I'm not even gonna say all, some people were willing to give the finest things that they owned for the building of this tabernacle. And the fact that, and I get it. Like when I was reading this, I was like, oh my goodness, these last chapters are so descriptive. They're so this, but it's like now that I'm verbally processing this, I'm going through it, it's making a lot of sense. You know, people got to first, giving should be optional. The one thing that I hate about the modern society today is that they're demanding people give them something. God never even demanded you give anything for for the building of tabernacle. He just said, "Look, this is." He gave you a grocery list. This is what I need. You can go get it if you want to, but this is just what I need for to build this project. And people gave to the point where they had to say, "No mas, no more. Don't. We don't need it." People were getting turned away from their donations. But now we have a society to where if you where they question whether the fact that you even gave something, if it's genuine or not. The fact that don't worry about my intentions of giving. If I'm giving for the purposes of getting a tax cut, or a financial strategy, or whatever, that's my business. That's none of yours. But people's like, oh, he's disingenuous. He's only doing that because he can write it off on his taxes. Trust me, I know. I've said it myself. Especially about LeBron James. But then again, I don't apologize for that, because LeBron James will turn around and say the same thing about people. We see these celebrities that will sit here and tell you what you can and cannot do with your money, but yet their intentions are jacked up. So, but that's why I don't really care too much about what your intentions are. The fact that you're doing something means more than if you just sat around and did nothing. The fact that okay, I like the fact that you can write stuff off on your taxes. I like the fact that you can that you could at one point offset your taxes by either donating, or writing it off as an expense. I like the fact that businesses can write stuff off as an expense, because the fact that these businesses can write off things as a law on their tax, or as a loss on their taxes, they're still employing people. They're still providing a product. They're still providing a service. So I don't care if they get a tax write off because they bought a car, or they got to dump, however much money into donations, or into public service or whatever. I don't care about that. The fact that they're providing a service, that service, it does something for people. I don't shun the rich because they make certain decisions. I don't shun, the rich because, oh, it's financially beneficial for them to do so, because if they didn't, they'll be owing more in taxes. I don't care. What I would like to see, I would like to see the IRS abolished, or at least, give the people like a deciding factor of what we're going to spend our taxes on. I don't like the fact that we're taxed. The more productive you are, the more that you're taxed. Trust me and my wife, we claim zero on our taxes, and we get beat upside the head every tax season because what we make. Oh, you made a little bit more than this year than last year. Okay, guess what? Your the amount that you should have paid went up, even though we're already taking the max from you. But the fact that you have people fresh out of Egypt, they don't they don't have much, but they're willing to give because it benefits them. To me, that's more important. you know uh I don't care about someone's intentions. I don't care if LeBron James wants to make another school. He just better not say anything about anyone else what they're doing with their money, because it's like, because once, that kind of goes back to the adage, don't throw stones and you live in a glass house, because when the moment you throw stones, guess what? Someone can throw stones at you, and everything's going to crumble. You know, I don't care that, a lot of people are lazy. We have created such a society of dependopotamuses who sit around and just graze all day off the public dole. And but then we have people who are truly in need. We have parents who are suffering, or families who are suffering because their only breadwinner got hurt in a work accident, or they got hurt on their way to work, or they got hurt in some freak accident, or their livelihood is being is being changed because the president wants to shut down a pipeline or whatever, or uh, a natural disaster or whatever. I would rather see those people receive a check from the government and the government take care of them, versus someone who's just sitting on their behind, getting high, getting drunk, having kids, and collecting checks. The fact that you know and this is why I'm just not in power. I'm not in the position of authority, because to make laws, because trust me, I will shut this ish down. Oh, you mean to tell me you got two legs, two arms that work, and we got people who ain't got no legs that working? Oh, you got a brain that actually works? I mean, you may not be smart, but we got people with cognitive decline or cognitive disabilities that are working. What's your problem? Oh, you know what? Because you want to be lazy. All right. Not only are we gonna take away all your exemptions, not only are we gonna take away all your benefits or whatever else, guess what? You're gonna have to pay us back for everything that you gave us. Oh man, I would get assassinated. I would get assassinated. That's why I can't be in politics. I can't be in a position of authority, because I would wreck the fabric of our society, because like we have people who are really in need. I would have, the same way how the government ruined inner city homes and inner city families by sending what was it? Public officials to your homes, like the census. And if they found a man, they would cut your benefits off. I would do that. And I'll be like, you know what? Oh, really? You mean so? And I would request to see your public, I mean, your medical records. I mean, because you're getting assistance off of the government. You're 9 times out of 10 you're using Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever else. So yeah, I'll be like, oh, Mr. John Smith and Mrs. Jane Doe. Oh, okay. See, it says here, you don't have any physical ailments. You don't have any mental disabilities. Oh, stress. Oh, okay, whatever. Well, stop having kids. Um, okay, you have three, one, two, three, four, five kids. Your oldest kid is like 16 years old. Oh, okay. Oh, you have an adult son living with you. Okay. Oh, you can work. Let's go on and here. Go on. You know what? You have an appointment tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock at the public job office. Do that. And if people can't maintain a job, let people fend for themselves. Because I'm telling you, like, hard times make strong people. And the problem is we've become so like what do you call it, enabling to people with bad decisions, that it's wrecking our company. I mean, our country. We got politicians who are running and winning because they're saying, you know what, because you're addicted to public assistance, guess what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to up some more public assistance. Free healthcare. You want free healthcare? Oh, food should be a right. The medical. Yes, I believe food should be a right. Yes, I believe medical should be a right. You know what? I'm going to give it to you. Oh, for those of you who got it, oh, you know what? You're going to have to pay more because we got to take care of all these people over here. No, no, stop doing that. Stop doing that. The government should get out of that. If you can't afford healthcare, hey, go. There used to be a time where some churches actually do. Some churches actually offer healthcare. They have a group. What was it? A group health savings account, or a health insurance, where they'll get health insurance for the church, and you sign up for it. Yeah, you pay into it, but you're getting healthcare through the church. Trust me, there are so many ways to skin this cat, but people only think the only way that they can do it is by the government dole. Oh, yeah, I had an associate, someone who I thought was my friend. She made a living off of public assistance. She over here living in an apartment, paying $8 a month, and she wouldn't work a job long enough. She would intentionally get fired, so that way she can keep her benefits. She wouldn't take a promotion, because if she did and she started earning more money, they would cut her benefits off. And I felt so bad for her daughter. Felt so bad for her, because this child didn't ask to have a mom like this. This child didn't ask to be put in a situation. But hey, we got really sick, morally and ethically people. I'm not talking about sick medically and mentally. We got some very morally and ethically sick people out here. But hey, that it is what it is. So yes, thank you guys for tuning in for another struggle episode. Next week we will cover chapter 26. Again, if you guys don't have a Bible, please get one. But if you just want to be lazy, hey, that's why I started putting the passages up there for you. So that way you can't say that Ed, you said this, and Ed, you said that. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I gave you my opinion, but I'll put the scriptures up there. So, but until then, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope to see you guys on Monday for Movie Monday. Trust me, I hope, because I'm burnt out. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye.